We believe where the best chance for change comes from collective thinking and collective action. This is why we don't only support cohorts of research projects like Women Rights projects, but also gatherings like this one today to help bring change and also to be able to help bring the best of minds together to advance global health goals.
We'll have 3 of the research teams share the innovative research methods that you have used in your research, whether you have any preliminary findings, what strategies you've put in place in terms of knowledge translation, communication and outreach, challenges and opportunities that you find, and basically any other information that you'd want to share around your project.
The objectives of our study was to assess the economic and health impacts of COVID-19 on adolescent girls. We collected data in Uganda and Ghana. Our population were girls aged, females aged 10 to 24. What we found in general was that there was a high prevalence of STIs. There was a high prevalence of transactional sex.
Our project is called Women Rise Together Across Life Course, or Right Life, Kenya and Uganda. We're looking at building back better after COVID-19 pandemic. Our main goal was to improve community health, our population through evidence-informed policy. And then the second objective we're looking at, how empowered are women feeling? Our third objective will be to what do women need to address their health and well-being issues? So some of the positive impacts that we have seen so far is the community involvement and recovery. We have engaged already 6 communities and over 20 community health participants in the 2 countries. And they are really engaged in trying to understand what we are working on, and they're really invested in women's health.
We set out to examine sociocultural, economic, and technical barriers to women participation in agricultural cooperatives. We have some preliminary findings. Majority of leadership position in cooperatives is held by men, but women form majority of those who who attend very critical meetings. In most households, men have ownership on large assets, while women have ownership on farm produce as coming out of that. Again, in most households, women have a control over sale of produce coming out of data, but men have control over the income generated. They make the decisions.
Thank you for having a very comprehensive theory of change. I just wondered whether any assumptions for that theory of change, and so far whether there are any unintended consequences.
All these counties we are engaging with, we are starting from an understanding that the agricultural activities they engage in, the households were exposed to the impacts of COVID-19. So that's an assumption we made as we started these engagements.
I was just wondering how you handled the consenting process of the 10 to 24, given that most of them may have been minors.
We had to first get consent from their caregivers or parents, and then assent from them. But there were also what we call emancipated minors. They are minors, they have children, they are living on their own. So things could be consented without consultation.
I will be taking us through the Chambers for Change Women Rights Study, which is a gender-responsive and microfinance-based approach to empowering women and building resilience to health emergencies in Kenya. We collaboratively work with healthcare providers at community level to enroll pregnant women into the program. And we leverage on the peer support model to ensure that they're able to participate in the program for the first 1,000 days of life for their infants. We have seen that there's been improved health outcomes that cut across attendance of all antenatal care visits, facility delivery, exclusive breastfeeding, but also most importantly, the aspect of financial empowerment. So lessons learned or challenges, chamas can be leveraged on to enable population level benefits. Then engaging vulnerable populations in the community advisory board contributes to their pathways towards holistic empowerment. And this is through co-learning and increased knowledge. And finally, the community advisory board facilitates community enhancement and empowerment, leading to social transformation. So on the challenges, one of the things that we picked is it takes long to build partnerships.
Ours is an intersection between COVID, livelihood, and HIV vulnerability. We had a question around what changed in their sexual life after COVID. So many things changed. Some engaged in sex work. Some got married temporarily because they could not take care of themselves, so they needed somebody to take care of them. Some attracted more sexual partners to get some kind of support from each one of them. Some practiced sex more. And then there were those that didn't change at all, which is a good thing also to report. We looked at changes in income. Their income had reduced compared to what they were earning before COVID. About 4 in every 10 women had engaged or were engaged in something new, meaning whatever they were engaged in before COVID had closed or failed, so they ventured into a new economic activity.
We are aiming to investigate the impact of COVID-19 on male and female healthcare providers and how it disproportionately and unequally affected the female healthcare workforce. It is to be implemented within 2 counties in Kenya, that is Kilifi and Mombasa County. We saw more of the paid workers reducing, but the unpaid actually increasing their roles. Almost all participants reported not having to take care of the family who fell sick from COVID. And then most participants reported doing 0 to 9 hours of unpaid leave during that particular period. And then those who had income level less than 11,000 to 12,000 really reported that the pandemic had extreme effects on their livelihoods. The gender statistics is defined as that statistics that adequately reflects differences and inequalities in situation of women and men in all areas of life. It also reflects gender issues, that is, questions, problems, and concerns related to all aspects of women's and men's life, including their specific needs, opportunities, and contribution to society. And also, the data collection aspects takes into account the stereotypes, social and cultural factors that may affect or may induce a gender bias in the data.
We agree from a scientific point of view, it's important to capture both the gender categories but also the gender identities because you don't want to pigeonhole people in categories that they don't wish to be.
For us, our data analysis is complementary. We are using qualitative to address the needs that were missed on gender by the quantitative analysis.
We'll have each team present their knowledge translation and engagement plan, and then the rest of us will look at the plan that they have against the backdrop of the overarching objective of their study within the context of the objectives of women's rights, and just have a discussion around that.
Our knowledge translation is embedded inside our project. So it's continuous, we never stopped, and we started from the word go. And this started by developing terms of reference when our teams came together. Everyone out of the 29 researchers knows exactly what they are supposed to do. We use the principle, the CGHR principle, partnership assessment tool, the PAT. And from this, we are hoping to get out of these meaningful partnerships. We're also looking for a benefit where we'll have to network between the groups. We had 3 main pillars that we were looking at. That's the aspect of exchange, synthesis, and then the ethically sound application of research findings. But most importantly, where are the researchers coming together with the users of the data that we're going to collect, or the findings that we're working towards getting at the end.
At community level, we embedded in what we called community validation meetings. So these are avenues for us to share the findings as they come out
but also as we validate whether we captured the true thoughts and opinions as gotten from the respondents, we are also giving them feedback on broadly what comes out of the processes of data collection.
At the community or district level, we convened a preliminary community advisory board meeting to share the study purpose, and their feedback was integrated into the study.
So how do you create this message that is compelling? Now, from a researcher's point of view, the first thing is you have to define the objective for your communication clearly. And it is based on who your target audience is. Then number two, you have to understand what is the problem that you're trying to solve. You did research. What was your research solving? Then what is the solution you're proposing? And what is the change that you want to see? So what happens in a compelling message, you need to decide beforehand, what are you going to privilege in your story? What is going to be in your NAT graph? Is it going to be the problem? Is it going to be the solution that you've come up with? And the solution will be found out in your findings. Is it going to be the impact? So you start with the change that you want to see. So you've done an out of this world study. The findings, the way you've projected the implications of the findings, they're likely to change, the landscape and in addressing the problem, and you want to focus on that. So from what you need in your compelling story to how you bring on board your key findings. So you need to have supporting points, and supporting points basically draw from your data. So what you need in most of your stories are very strong statistics. So your story must bring messages to life and help connect with your audience. So how do you connect with your audience? Make that story relatable to the audience, and you're going to see what to do there. Then number two, where your audience is beginning to doubt what you're saying, so the nod stops, what do you need to do? That is why you give them the data. Use live experiences in the second bit. Then number three, what one specific thing do you want whoever is reading your story to do? You want them to see the solution. So you want them to see clear, concise, and specific solution. And then lastly, the vision. The so what. The then what is the bit where you are bringing in the key players who are supposed to do what? To intervene.
We really appreciate and thank you, IDLC, for supporting all of us under the Women Rights, grant. And I do hope that we'll find more opportunities in the future to collaborate, to come together, to link, to network, to create new partnerships, to create new linkages. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with all of us. And let's make an impact